You are listening to Speaking Of by WFSU Public Media. Mayor John Dailey announced 2 weeks ago that he would not be seeking re-election for another term. Since then, several local officials have announced their candidacy or made hints at their intentions to run, even though the election is over a year away. Gina Jordan is sitting down with WFSU reporter Tristan Wood to discuss these updates.
Hey, Tristan.
Hey, Gina.
Is there any good dirt coming out of City Hall?
Well, I mean, it seems like there always is, but particularly over the last couple weeks. Not so much what they've been necessarily voting on, but the electoral implications for 2026. Within the last several weeks, a slew of top of the ticket in these local city commission race news came out. Mayor John Dailey announced he's not going to be running for re-election.
Right, yeah.
And City Commissioner Jeremy Matlow announced he's going to run for mayor. So essentially that's opening up two non-incumbent races at the city commission level in Tallahassee in a body that's frankly been racked with controversy and constant infighting for the last 6-7 years. So because of these two vacant seats now, speculation about who's going to run, conversations on who's already running have seemingly dominated people into politics and the conversations they're having locally here in Tallahassee.
Yeah. So we are about a year from when candidates will show up on the ballot, and already this is a big deal. So I can't even imagine what's going to happen later. But let's talk about how City Commissioner Jeremy Matlow has said he is running for mayor, and he is part of that minority faction at City Hall, that 3-2 split that has been so huge.
Yes, absolutely. And for him, this is, an opportunity to, although the mayor of the city of Tallahassee doesn't have any real more voting power than a city commissioner, they control and oversee meetings. They are kind of like the face, but they're generally a weaker mayor. So this race wouldn't necessarily mean a lot more power for him individually, but it does offer an opportunity for him to take the seat that was held by John Dailey, who was on that 3 side of the 3-2 split, and then potentially back a candidate running for his former seat. So I had the opportunity to interview Matlow, and the overarching theme that he said to me was that he believes it's time for change at City Hall.
Our campaign is really going to be focused on where we need to go as a city. I've lived in Tallahassee my entire life, and I love the city. I think speaking with people all across our community, people feel like local government, particularly in the city, has been kind of stagnant, and we really need to push forward and ask for better for our city. I think I'm uniquely qualified to bring us all together.
Well, some people might disagree that Matlow is qualified to bring everyone together, but the other thing is, everyone that runs is going to say, let's make changes at City Hall. What does he really want?
In speaking with him, mentioning reforms to Blueprint, he messaged heavily against the Doak Campbell Stadium funding and the Wulwani Development Project funding, right? So he would want to likely bring a lot of reforms to Blueprint, but something he wouldn't directly say or call for in the interviews with me, but something he's messaged on heavily previously is changing leadership at City Hall. Him and Commissioner Jack Porter have given failing grades to City Manager Reese Goad for a while and constantly complain about communication with him and have had issues with him. So potential changing leadership early on and also looking to reform Blueprint spending and other projects like that would likely be the type of change he would want to bring early on. And, you're right. He has a very popular following amongst certain members of Tallahassee voters and people that are interested in Tallahassee politics. But he's also heavily opposed by other factions as well. The Leon County GOP came out after he declared he was running. He's long been criticized as a progressive. And in interviewing with him, I kind of asked him about generally those labels.
Anytime you talk about affordability for the little guy, all of a sudden you're a progressive socialist, left wing, whatever. But really the right has gotten so extreme that they can't see just what everybody wants. We look at policies like the minimum wage or medical marijuana that go to the ballot. These things are overwhelmingly popular. So I think our politics, while progressive, that's a great label, but I think it's really centered on what the majority of the people and the needs are.
So Jeremy Matlow was at the Tallahassee Chamber Conference recently. That happens every year. They go to Amelia Island, hundreds of business owners there. And some people were surprised that he was there, but now that he's running for mayor, he needs to talk to these people. But they were surprised because he's previously been very critical of the chamber. There was a big PR thing that came out of that involving Drew Jones from Vancouver Jones.
Yes.
What happened there?
So Drew Jones walked up to Matlow at the event and gave him some knee pads in a Dick's Sporting Goods bag and said that he essentially needs to ask the people at the chamber there for forgiveness. Matlow criticized the chamber, several years ago, trying to tie them to kind of the Scott Maddox corruption environment. And that type of criticism and antagonistic relationship Matlow had with the chamber has impacted him, although he was, successful in being reelected to his city commission seat previously by wide margins.
Yeah.
It did impact his ability to fundraise with the business community in Tallahassee. If you go through his campaign finance reports, he had very little donations coming in from Tallahassee businesses. Most of his fundraising came from more small dollar donations from residents. So with Matlow going to this conference, it's clear that he's trying to, try to mend some fences, try to court supporters who previously, opposed him. But with Drew Jones's reaction, it's clear that some in those circles aren't willing to go there just yet.
So he did fine getting back into his commission seat, but will he be able to fundraise in the business community, and can he successfully be elected as mayor without the business community?
He has successfully been able to hold on to his city commission seat previously, but in the last election, he was running as an incumbent. Now it's likely that others will enter this race as mayor, so it remains to be seen whether he'll be able to do that. And that's going to be something that we watch closely here, exactly how he's fundraising and what's happening with that.
Yeah. So he does have some competition already for mayor.
Yes. So far, one candidate has run. First-time candidate, a 20-year-old named Cameron Cooper, who goes by Cameron Justice on social media. He's been posting a lot of viral reels talking about politics almost every day. In one of the reels, he pointed out how Matlow has been on the losing side of those 3-2 votes for almost 8 years now.
If I, hypothetically, was a city commissioner for 8 years, and I'm saying I can't get my agenda done because I cannot reach a consensus on the city commission for the last 8 years, I've sued my partners, I have done all this stuff and done all this political theater stuff, and now I'm saying, hey, I want to run for mayor because I can now get it done. It just doesn't make sense. If you couldn't do it then for 8 years, what makes you think you're going to do it now?
Aside from him, though, there's speculation about several other potential political heavyweights entering. One of them is Christian Caban, Leon County Commissioner, who's recently been making a lot of headlines locally for his fight with the city about the fire services fee.
Yeah.
He also has a decent amount of money remaining in political committees associated with him, and there's wide speculation that he would consider a run, so he's someone in the coming weeks to watch to see if he'll enter. There's also been some speculation about Al Lawson or Gwen Graham and several other potential names in that list. Essentially, previously in Commissioner Matlow's most recent election, 2022, they had David Bellamy run against him, who wasn't ever elected to public office wasn't a household name, and he lost pretty handily. I feel that those that are interested in not seeing Matlow as mayor are doing what they can to try to recruit candidates that have established name ID and established clout to be able to run against Matlow.
That's interesting about Al Lawson and Gwen Graham, both previously in Congress.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Matlow is running for mayor, and so that frees up his seat on the city commission. You've talked to 3 people that have filed, and only 3 people have filed so far for that seat?
Yes, and I have spoken with all of them. PJ Perez is the first one I spoke to. He's a longtime Leon County teacher that currently teaches at Tallahassee Collegiate Academy. In speaking with him, he echoed a lot of the same messaging that we've seen from the minority bloc on the city commission, criticizing Blueprint, saying that Tallahassee needs reform and change.
And I think there's a momentum for reform in local government. And there's a commonly held desire to stop this costly sprawl that's making congestion worse, and instead focus on making our existing footprint a better place to live and encourage development where it makes sense and foster community, which is, I think, crucial to any sort of healthy and beautiful city.
So a big thing to watch this election cycle is who's going to be the candidate that Matt Lowe is going to support to be his heir apparent. When I spoke with PJ, he says he's his own person, but in seeing stuff around town, I saw him with Leon Democratic Party Executive Committee Chair Ryan Ray at several Tiger Bay events and other just events around town. And he also is employing a lot of the same messaging that you've seen Matt Lowe and Matt Lowe's allies employ in years past. So although he's not explicitly out yet, he's someone to watch to see whether he tries to go in his own, separate path that's not on either side of the 3-2 split, or if he does start going in one direction or another. He's one person to watch in that respect.
Yeah.
The second candidate I spoke with was Talithia Edwards. She's been involved in community advocacy for quite a while. She founded the Greater Bond Neighborhood Association, and she worked to secure $6.4 million in investment for Southside neighborhoods. Very recently, she was involved with the city and spoke during an event at City Hall to honor the city's All-America City designation. When I spoke with her, she says that what she wants to do is work to bring more industry and jobs to Tallahassee to help retain talent in Tallahassee to stop brain drain and other things from happening.
How do we attract big companies to this community so that we retain our talent? I believe in housing affordability. And how do we utilize city funding, that $1 billion budget, to be creative, to bring about housing affordability, creation of more jobs? I think we can be more innovative. So those are some of the things I would love to see us do. Work better with the business, private, and the public sector all together, having a conversation about what is the rainbow of Tallahassee that we're all moving towards.
Yeah, Talithia Edwards, we have spoken with her a lot for various stories. She's a well-known community advocate, particularly on the South Side. Where does she stand on this 3-2 split at City Hall?
Well, in speaking with her, she said that she generally thinks the 3-2 split is a distraction and that she wants to focus on representing all of Tallahassee. It's worth being said, though, that on her social media accounts, it's clear that she's friendly with a lot of the people on the three-sided, the 3-2 split. City Commissioner Diane Williams-Cox posted pictures of Talithia with Mayor John Dailey, Commissioner Curtis Richardson, and some of their aides courtside at a FAMU football game. It's worth noting that Talithia was also tagged in a picture with Matt Lowe in 2020, but that was posted by a photographer. There are several images that Commissioner Diane Williams-Cox has posted tagging Talithia. There's also several pictures posted with her with various aides for the people that are on the 3-2 split. Mm-hmm. So it's just like with PJ, watching where her political allegiances lie, who's giving money to her this campaign cycle, and where she stands on various issues when debates, public forums happen. Her, like PJ, is going to be someone to watch to see, where they stand on these issues that have divided this 3-2 split.
Yeah. Okay, and so there is another candidate, Norm Roche.
So Norm Roche is a former Pinellas County Commissioner that was elected there in 2010, but lost after one term in the Republican primary there. He politically started as a Democrat and ran for that county commission seat several times. Then he was elected as a Republican for one term, and now he's been an independent for 10 years and has spent most of the last 10 or so years living in Tallahassee. Currently, he works at the membership desk at Costco in town and is interested in running after a relative of his left the Tallahassee Fire Department amid that contract standoff between the union and the city of Tallahassee that was occurring over the last several years. He says he wants to focus on more collaboration with the county and making sure that development happens in the city of Tallahassee to prepare for the general population growth we've seen across the state of Florida.
It's the capital city of the state of Florida, and it is time for us to embrace that honor. Folks are not going to stop moving to Florida. And I think we're at a precipice here that we can grow while protecting our environment, our red hills and our canopies, and do it properly and intelligently. I think it's something we have to do. And it is imperative that we work with the county commission to do that.
All right. So 3 candidates there. Let's just boil this down. What are the stakes of this election?
Essentially, it can reshake the general voting trends on this 3-2 split. And that could mean a lot of things. Could mean changes with how Blueprint is spending its money. While the Blueprint intergovernmental agency, while its word also has a recommendation from the county commission, city commissioners have an oversized vote share on that, where a lot of these controversial votes that have happened because the 3-2 split come down on a certain issue, and those weighted votes from those county commissioners send the issue over the top. So how these 2 non-incumbent races turn out could influence whether it's a group that's pro the direction Blueprint is going or anti the direction Blueprint's going.
Okay.
Another thing that I talked about previously is kind of the stakes with the top brass at City Hall. Jack Porter and Jeremy Matlow have given negative performance reviews to City Manager Reese Scode in the past. The 3 majority block commissioners, per se, have given overwhelmingly positive reviews for Reese Scode. So where the political alliance is of who ends up being elected in those 2 seats could drastically shape that. I spoke with a lot of the candidates that aren't clear on their record about this to try to clarify what they were willing to publicly say about their thoughts on the 3-2 split and the direction that they think city management should go. Speaking to Norm Roche, he generally summed up that he thought the 3-2 split was due to political alliance and ideological differences from the commissioners.
From my view of it, you seem to have a couple of moderate, reasonable Democrats, and then you have some that are a little more less progressive leaning. And that's the ideology behind it. It's not one way or the other. You've got to leave your ideology and your political badges, if you will, at the door. Sit at the dais and work together for the benefit of the city, period.
So when I spoke to Talithia and asked generally those same questions about her thoughts on the 3-2 split, her thoughts on city management, she largely said that the fights along those things distract from the issues that are most important to Tallahassee residents.
We get distracted a lot with things about, oh, they want to fire the city manager, or, oh, this 2-3 split. We get distracted, and those things take us off the focus of what is important, and that's the people, and making sure that this city stays moving in the direction that it needs to be moved in for generations to come.
When I spoke to PJ Perez about those same questions, he says that he doesn't want to come down on any particular side of the 3-2 split, and he's largely undecided in what direction he'd want to go with any potential change in city management.
I'm not going to be in anyone's camp necessarily. You want to be able to hear what's going on, but I am hearing a lot of momentum for change, but I'll make any decisions on that specifically as I learn more. Part of being a teacher is to reflect and analyze and listen, and and so that's what I would do.
And Cameron Cooper, in one of his reels that he posted, really highlighted that this divide kind of shows that, those that were part of that divide but are now trying to run as a unifier, he doesn't think that really holds up to scrutiny.
Our city commission in Tallahassee is so divided. They've sued each other. They talk about each other. They, do political fighting, won't even shake each other's hands. But they will run again for office and tell us that we're going to unite Tallahassee when you can't even unite your own city commission. It's just childish play. It's BS, really.
My goodness.
Yes, absolutely. So certainly at this point, we're a year out. None of the candidates, they want to establish their own name ID, and they don't want to necessarily tie themselves to any faction or another. But the reality is the same factionalism that we've seen occur at almost every single election cycle the last several years with this kind of 3-2 split and the different interests in town that are interested in either side and winning. Expect conversations about where these candidates end up coming down and what side they more align with to be a big focus in a lot of the questions that are asked at candidate forums from our outlet and other outlets.
Yeah, the idea of having someone who can bridge that gap sounds great. I think at the same time, you have people that don't want everyone being in lockstep. I think the key is that they have to be able to discuss and come up with those compromises, right?
Absolutely. And that is a great vision and a great idea. But I feel an important thing to keep in mind with that, though, as well, a central moderate figure that could be the balance between all of those could be aspirational. There are different, interests on both sides of this 3-2 split. And because those interests are so invested and have been where the lines have been battled through these last previous elections, they're coming with more political infrastructure, more volunteers, just stuff that's easier to get a campaign off the ground than a moderating factor that's not beholden to either side. So any candidate that would be that moderating factor has to face an uphill battle with running in this tense political climate in Tallahassee.
Yeah. So when we're talking the 3-2 split, we're talking about Mayor John Dailey, Commissioners Curtis Richardson and Diane Williams Cox on one side, and on the other side is Jeremy Matlow and Jack Porter.
Yes.
So Diane Williams Cox, her seat right now is still hers. It'll continue to be hers if she wants it, unless someone files.
Yes, she's up for re-election, but so far no one has filed. And I think someone could very well file to run against her. But if you look at the fights along this 3-2 split where the minority faction ran a candidate against them, the majority faction ran a candidate against them, the incumbents have come down successfully in every single one of those races. And there's something to be said that in this election cycle, where there are 2 open seats, that those seats will likely draw a lot more of attention because there's just so much up for grabs with them since you're not fighting against an incumbent advantage.
Yeah. So a lot at stake with this election. What kind of communication and messaging are we seeing already?
Well, personally, I've already received targeted ads from Jeremy Matlow's campaign. Several friends of mine have received campaign text messages from him. So campaign communications from some of the candidates that already have established stuff, it has already started. Talithia Edwards has a campaign launch party coming up over the next several weeks, and so does Matlow. So although we're a year out from those primary elections, which would be the first bite at the apple for these candidates to try to win, we're already seeing the kind of organizing efforts and the messaging starting now. So get ready to start being bombarded by your emails, texts, and targeted ads.
No doubt it'll be juicy. Tristan, thank you.
No problem. Thanks for talking with me.